Welcome to this week's L.I.F.S, the latest industry fitness trends and stories. And we've got some interesting things to talk about today, Mo, and we're here in person in Newport Beach.
We are. Week 2, episode 2, doing it in person. I know we talked about this, didn't know it was going to be episode 2 already, but excited to be here. It's a beautiful day. It was cooler in DC, but 80s here in Newport Beach.
We've got a special guest today.
We do have a special guest, a friend, colleague, industry extraordinaire, founder of Row House, Debra Strougo. Debra, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always happy to see you both. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm going to go straight into it. We've got a story. Nike seems to be hitting the headlines, and I'm going to pull up the first press release that we've got here, which is Dimension6 Fitness Corporation is excited to announce the launch of its licensing partnership with Nike. Through its partnership, Dimension6 is poised to become a significant player in the highly fragmented strength training equipment space by offering premium Nike strength equipment that is designed to serve the needs of all athletes. So Mo, you've got a bit of a interesting background on story on this one, haven't you?
I do, and I think to this one, there's more than meets the eye. I think there's a lot of inside baseball that's happening with this story. So a few things. Nike, going back to 2012, was actually one of the first brands that we had a chance to work with. And early on, I had an opportunity to meet Phil Knight and really have some personal conversations with him. And when this came out, I thought about, this name sounds really familiar. Where have I heard this? Dimension6 and Nike. Then it occurred to me that Dimension6 was actually the name that Phil Knight was going to call Nike. So just to give you some backstory here, when Phil Knight first started making shoes, he had a partner in Japan, and that fell apart, and he had to go through a quick rebrand. And his first choice for his new brand was Dimension6. And one of his closest friends, and actually then going on to be employee number 1, had a dream the day before the trademark was due and the patent was due to be filed. And he said, I had a dream. And in that dream, this company is called Nike. So there were 3 potential options, Dimension6 being one of them. But Phil Knight heard Nike, and Jeff Johnson said, you need to have, a simple name that's got two syllables. And he recalled, he talked about brands like Kleenex and Clorox and Nike. So it just came natural, and he just went with it. And that's, when you look at Phil Knight's history, that's kind of how he made it.
Isn't that amazing? Mo is just always in the know. You never know what's going to come out of your mouth.
Well, you never know when it could be useful, right? So here we are talking about Dimension6. So then you look deeper into it. Dimension6 as an entity was really formed in 2020. This is not an established strength manufacturer. You've been around, I think, for 25 years, maybe longer, right? Being with Escape. And so that's one. And then you look further into it, and you've got a couple of key players. And one of them, as the article here mentioned, is Kevin Sybers, who's joining as COO and CFO, coming after spending 9 years at Nike. So I think there's definitely, this is a licensed deal. You've got a brand new company in Dimension6 that has no track record, has never done strength as an entity before, partnered with Nike. There's a lot of close relationships here. And I think they've hit it with a bang. And there's definitely going to be an impact that people are going to feel.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one that I guess I feel quite close to because understanding the category, because it's a place we've been playing in. And I think I made a few notes here. I think smart move for Nike. We were involved with Reebok for about 10 years. Always wondered when Nike was going to do this. It was something that everybody was always thinking about, but they seemed to put it off for a number of reasons. And they always tended to avoid licensing. They tended to do a lot on their own, and where Reebok and Adidas went down the road of licensing, particularly for these types of items. Strength is very smart. It's obviously huge at the moment, so getting involved in a strength product makes a lot of sense. I've always loved the brand. For years, even when we started for Escape, I'd always go in there with our product people and take pictures in the Nike store, and the innovation, the attention to detail, just was hugely inspirational. And whenever I came back, it was like, okay, just come up with so many different ways that you could apply that into your own business. I think when I saw these products and saw some information online, I think quite smart that they'd gone down using Nike grind for the recycled plates. That's something I feel is going to be quite interesting going forward. But essentially it's a material with a little bit of color. And then they've got these colored bars. But outside of that, for me, understanding product and product design and knowing a little bit about Nike, is very, very disappointed with the first sort of out of the gate product, because it was something that anybody could go to Alibaba and find hex dumbbells and benches and racks and all those things. And whilst I'm sure there's going to be a evolution to the product, I'm obviously going to get better. It's just, you would have thought for a brand like that they would have come out the gates with something innovative, that they would have opened their own tooling and moldings and just really gone to market to say, okay, we're in the strength space, but we've come up with something that nobody's thought. And I don't think it's that difficult to do that, really. You know, if we had even an average budget, you could really push the boundaries and get everybody to jaw drop and say, wow, that's different. But just to, I suppose, put the Nike swoosh, which I think carries a lot of weight. I've seen they've got LeBron on their website and they've got the swoosh, and I'm sure that will carry them quite far. But just a little bit disappointed in a positive way that they didn't really challenge the boundaries of the design like they do in so many other things that Nike put their stamp to.
But when you look at the market and you look at, one, it is highly fragmented. There's a lot of brands out there. To me, I think this, looking at the other topics that we're going to be speaking about today, how much of this decision is more about visibility and branding than it really is about the product, right? Like Nike and all the big brands are struggling to get in front of the consumer. Look, it's why the Super Bowl is sponsored, the halftime show is sponsored by Apple. 5 years ago, it would have been unthinkable to think that Apple's going to sponsor the halftime show of the Super Bowl. In fact, it's unthinkable to think about that Apple would have sponsored anything in general, but here they are. And now look, Nike is doing what we thought was unthinkable, which is going to licensing, come out with a very non-innovative suite of products. But I think it's really about getting in front of the consumer, getting that visibility, making sure that the brand is ever present. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to do here. But Debra, curious to get your thoughts. I mean, you're a branding expert. I'm sure you have an opinion on it.
Of course. Well, that's the question, right? Are they here just to play in this space? So they feel like they're actually late to the game. So that's why they're going in with, what we're somewhat saying is a subpar product. But they just want to play in this space because they know they have to, because otherwise they don't have market share and they don't have visibility in the market. Or, and is that what's behind it, right? Is it that they're sitting here and they're like, we're late to the game, we need a quick go-to-market strategy on how to get out there, and so we do this license relationship? Versus, would they take their time and build something that's really amazing? And how long would that have taken, and what that have been? So this way they look at, like, we're going to go to market, we're going to enter really quick, we'll have something and innovate over the course of time, and will it get better or not?
And the other thing is, how many people, I mean, I go back to Apple again. Apple has this space in the market today where they are a luxury product that everyone has. If you think about cars, like the Honda Accord, the Camry, these are boring but reliable products. It's not luxury. Luxury in cars is typically for people that can afford luxury products. But Apple is the luxury product that everybody has. They are a high volume and high margin product. There's not many brands in the world that can claim that, but Nike is one of them. So I think Nike has an opportunity to be able to leverage that brand recognition to pull something off here. And look, you look at their market cap. I just pulled this up. Nike's market cap is $156 billion. Let's compare that to the largest equipment manufacturer in the world today, Technogym. They're $1.6 billion. They're literally a tenth of the size of Nike. And you look at the biggest connected fitness brand, Peloton, $1.7 billion. Again, a tenth of what Nike is. So even if Nike is moderately successful, they have an opportunity to make this $1 billion business if they play their cards right.
You could also look at it on the flip, right? It's an opportunity to further validate the strength market, right? So Nike's taking all their customer base, potentially stretching their wallets out because people now want the Nike strength product. And it further validates something that we all know is kind of this trend that's now here and to stay, which is making your body stronger through strength training and all that provides. So that's really good for the industry at large, I think.
Well, moving on to the next story, and it's Nike again. I've got this article from Health Club Management. Nike has made a leap into the group fitness market with the launch of Nike Studios. The offering, in partnership with Fit Labs in Newport Beach, is being billed as a new generation of group fitness for everybody and every goal. Classes will be led by Nike trainers. Now, this is a slightly different approach. I've seen some of the images of these Nike Studios, and they are what you would class as very Nike, extremely sexy, cool, Very, very well designed, very well considered. I'm not sure whether they're just renders or whether it will be like that in real life, but from a visual perspective, pretty excited about having a look at those. So Debra, what do you know about the Nike studios, and do you have a view on what that could mean to the competitors?
Well, I'm actually curious, guys, what you know about the programming behind it, because that was my first question. So I remember back in the day doing work on fitness videos, and for example, Self Magazine would launch these videos, and they had no plan for what the actual programming or content was until like literally the day before we got shipped to Puerto Vallarta or somewhere beautiful to be in it. They didn't exactly know who the talent or the content was. So I have a friend that is up on the campus at Nike and told me that the programming was coming from there, and it had been worked out for many, many years, and that's where the programming was coming from. I also heard that that's not true, and somebody else was working on the programming. So I don't know how efficacious the programming is for the Nike studios, and if it's built from that and really understanding the programming, the users, the people that are going to come through these Nike studios as they expand, or if it's, again, just kind of a play for Nike to have an in real life touch point on the grounds and to go deliver, and it's kind of like, if you build it, they will come because you're Nike, and it almost
But how long will that
matter.
survive?
I don't know. What do you know?
Without, well, I know a few things about this one. Look, I think that they're probably going after a Barre's bootcamp style of workout where it's high intensity, there's strength involved. But I do think that, and I know some of this, that there is going to be some innovation that's coming into the studio itself, and they're going to try to your point, Matthew, make it more Nike-like, more premium, but adding in some piece of technology into it as well. So I think it will surprise and delight.
Is that a secret you can
customers.
share? Or
Not something I could talk too much about, but I think people will be delighted. But the question is back to your point, is the programming, right? You could build something sexy, build something cool. People are going to love the first experience, but how long are they going to stay for? And regular studios today struggle with that, right? Regular studios really struggle with retention. But going back to the brand, this move is all about visibility. It's all about another touch point, another way to learn more about the member. If you think about the things that they're doing, they've got assets like Nike Run Club. It's the #1 fitness app in the world, is Nike Run Club. They're now going to have studios. They now obviously have apparel and shoes. So I think it's just, again, increasing the touch points. And the other thing I'll add is, don't forget about Nike being on Netflix. Nike also announced a partnership with Netflix where they have a whole bunch of programs and videos on Netflix as well. So what they're trying to do here is get deeper, because traditional marketing is no longer working. Traditional SEO is no longer working. Traditional retail is no longer working. So I think Nike is just really trying, and to their credit, being very progressive and acting fast, and know that, hey, we don't have the skill set to build our own line of fitness hardware. We're going to go ahead and license it with someone else. But the most important thing is having brand visibility in front of our customers.
And it's going to be really interesting what their main goal is with these studios, because if you look at these studios, they could be loss leaders, right? They could just be a place to pop up, kind of a showroom for other Nike products, a way to retain and engage and delight their customers. Of course, there will be some cost, but they can run that way, and they could run, at break even or a little bit in the red and probably be fine for the overall brands, or maybe even a lot in the red. Whereas you look at the other studios, like all of the franchise studios, and they need to drive unit economics, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that all works in market, because certain studios will have a strong sales process, i.e. the ones that need to drive unit economics. Nike might not be in that place. They might not care.
Right. And that's going to make it really hard for franchise owners, right? And I think we've got another additional topic coming up related to that as well.
Well, yeah, nicely leading into Barre3 then. Barre3 has steadily expanded into North America and Asia since launching in Portland, Oregon in 2008. Barre3 is a boutique fitness franchise headquartered in Portland, raising the bar after celebrating its 15-year anniversary, having acquired the Barre Code, a Midwest bar fitness company. This strategic moves increases Barre3's global footprint to 185 studios after initially launching in Portland in 2008, with locations expanded across the coast to coast in the US as well as Canada and the Philippines. Thoughts on that then, Debra, our studio specialist?
Well, you all know. So you both know well. Obviously, I am the founder of Row House, and I grew Row House and looked at different ways to expand it And the way that I chose was with Experiential because of the leverage of the franchise systems that Experiential created. And, of course, as an entrepreneur myself and a brand developer, I could have done other things. I could have gone corporate, I had a deal there. I could have gone, digital, I had a deal there. But I chose to go down this path because of the leverage. So I think that's the same thing that's happening here. There's leverage that's going to happen in this space. Obviously, we know there's a lot of Pilates brands out there. Barre3 is, a great exemplary brand, franchise brand, and Barre Code as well. And so they're going to come together and bring all of their processes together, which, at face value is wonderful, right? Because also we know that the market anticipated some sort of consolidation. And that's not only because of COVID, that's pre-COVID. There were brands popping up in all sorts of directions. And so Barre3 plus Barre Code brings us to 185 studios, and that's wonderful. The sales process, the real estate choices, the class types, the community makeups, all of those types of things will have to kind of come together. And it sounds like, Sadie will figure out the right way to do that, keeping in mind all of the different owners. A lot of them are owner operators to bring it together. But overall, you'll have more brand awareness for Barre3 in this Pilates space. And you'll have product leverage, you'll have partnership leverage, and all of those types of things. So I think there are some places that it could get a little funky, just knowing the insides of the world of franchising. They've mentioned instructor retraining, they've mentioned rebrands. There could potentially be shifts in unit economics because of some new expenditures that would need to happen that the owners didn't anticipate. So it's definitely not like, ta-da, it just happens. I'm sure our people are hard at work at it. But it seems like something that, overall could be a good thing.
Do you think it's the end of the real boutique? Like, what's the definition of boutique? Is it a single, independent, unique studio that you can only get in one place? And now many that you're hearing, there's a huge amount of consolidation going on where they're boutique brands as opposed to what a boutique studio used to offer.
That's a rough one. What do you think, Mo?
Well, one, I want to know what people are drinking or what's in the water in Portland. Because Nike in Beaverton, Dimension 6 in Portland, and now Barre3 also from Portland, where this is a Portland-themed show. No, I agree.
Or Oregon in general.
Or Oregon in general.
I was just in Bend, and I saw a nice, cute little independent studio, by the way. So there are some.
It is. I mean, I have a follow-up question to that, which is also related. But looking at variety being so important, and looking at this push towards holistic wellness, longevity. This is one modality, right? Barre3, Barre Code, all based on Pilates, but people need more. And to me, I think if they don't consolidate and they don't leverage scale, they're at risk for an Experiential who already has Club Pilates, or Nike, or one of these big brands coming in and launching as a modality. So they need to have scale. They need to have more members. They need to be able to offer other periphery services like nutrition coaching, apparel, whatever else. So I think being a single location, a true boutique business today, not just in fitness, but really in anything, it's challenging because to grab consumer attention, which is so digital, is difficult when you are just that one store in Bend, unless you are in a small community like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are more and more people that want to work in the world of fitness, and so franchising offers them the opportunity to get in and go. I didn't understand at first that all of these franchise owners are truly entrepreneurs. I thought I was the entrepreneur because I launched the brands. The truth is these are all entrepreneurs. Yes, they have systems. Yes, they have processes, but they're still dialing up the right things in their communities to make their business successful. And there are more fitness businesses in local communities, and that's a wonderful thing for the industry, right? So from that standpoint, I think that it's actually a really nice thing that there is more and more growth, and that can kind of fuel the other side of all of the consolidation.
Yeah, and we are in the era of partnerships. I think partnerships, mergers is definitely seems to me like the theme of the back half of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about partnerships, there's an interesting one which is again just been released this week, and I'm going to use Health Club Management again on this one. A network of Sports Illustrated branded resort and lifestyle complexes will launch in the US following a deal between Travel Plus, Leisure Co. and Sports Hospitality Ventures. The hotel and resorts license for the Sports Illustrated brand in North America and the Caribbean. So it says there's going to be a resort and campus, full-service hotel, vacation club, and residencies. That's and gyms, of course. Any insights on that?
Well, I think, look, again, it's all about visibility. This, I feel like, is the theme for the next couple of years coming up. Print has been down significantly, and as someone else opines this, I will look up those numbers, but print and subscription for Sports Illustrated and for any magazine is down, and it is going down in a hurry. Traditional media is going down. So for a brand to be relevant, for a brand to survive, again, just like what Nike is doing and what we've been talking about, you've got to be present in different places, because that single instance, like as Sports Illustrated did, just hasn't worked. I mean, what are they known for? Like most people, the best-selling issue is the swimsuit edition, which has been around
That's
for.
the kind of main thing that comes to mind.
That's
when
the
I
first
think
thing,
about it.
right? But it's the
What
one.
are I've never read one. I've just seen the pictures of the front cover. But what are they? A sports magazine or something? Are they?
Sports Illustrated? Yeah, I mean, they also have a kids edition.
Kids edition.
You should pick one up. You
Okay.
should, not the kids edition, but the regular one. But
Right.
and then they are international. So if you go to Europe, it's a little bit like ESPN. I think ESPN really brought a digital and media front to Sports Illustrated. But before that, it was Sports Illustrated, where you kind of heard about the stories, you heard about the journeys, you read about what's relevant and current in the news. So they have multiple properties that are mostly physical based, that have some digital, but they're losing subscribers. And how do you become relevant? So I think, again, here's an example of another licensing or partnership deal.
Yeah, it's just an experience, right? There's a huge just influx of interest in people having experiences and spending money on experiences. So I do think, you don't just choose the Sports Illustrated resort for the destination. You're choosing to be a part of the Sports Illustrated experience. And then I would ask, what does that mean to you, right? There are a lot of people, maybe not you, Matt, that their vision of going to Sports Illustrated Resort is seeing the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition models that are all going to be there. Is that what everybody thinks is going to be there? They're probably trying to dial up that user, right?
Well, it seems to be aimed at, I think where they're going to locate them is they're going to have bars, beach clubs, experience parks, and they're basing them near college town locations. So it seems to be, according to this, more of a younger demographic they're going after. Is that who you say they would appeal to then?
That's interesting. So they're trying to get people kind of in that audience development stage. So get them young so that they get hooked to Sports Illustrated and stay with them for a long time. Interesting approach.
Yeah, I just pulled up this article here, but look, Sports Illustrated laid off in 2017, 300 employees. Their subscribers were down from 3.2 million in 2007 to 2.75 million in 2017, and then went down to 2.4 million 2 years ago. They used to be a weekly magazine. They went down from having 50 issues to 46, then to 38. Now they're every other week. They're bi-weekly. So I think the future of the brand is really being called into question, and how can you be relevant again? I mean, just think about even the Hard Rock Resort. I think the Hard Rock is an example of someone who's done a really good job in building out this resort-based experience. People might know the resorts and the restaurants as well as what the new Hard Rock, what Hard Rock originally was. You look at Disney. Disney's most successful property are their theme parks. They make the most profit. It is constant, and people continue to go to it, even though they just raised ticket prices. What's not doing well for Disney are their digital and online pieces. So I think creating these experiences is a way for them to stay relevant.
Yeah, and we also were going to talk a minute about the CorePower deal.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that one. We've got 5 minutes, and I'm going to squeeze the article in, Debra. And,
are we going to
see what you say? So, CorePower Yoga, the largest yoga studio chain in the US with over 220 locations, has just partnered with Matthew and Camila McConaughey to Just Keep Living Foundation to make yoga more accessible to inner city high school students.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just going to say that's kind of a mission-driven approach, right? And what they're trying to do similarly to Sports Illustrated, keeping their brands alive and finding new ways to execute upon it by offering these resorts, what CorePower is trying to do is just have more heart behind the brands, right? So they're saying, okay, hey, we have 220 locations. We're going to do this global partnership, national partnership, what have you, with this foundation to make yoga more accessible to high school students. I mean, that activates their community in local communities. It builds brands loyalty, right, amongst, and certainly visibility for their brands within those locations. So it's just interesting. There you go. That's a mission-driven approach to like stay engaged or get further engaged and retain and delight their clients. Where Sports Illustrated is doing very different, and obviously for a much bigger and older organization, you could argue, than CorePower. Just to show up where they show up. But really, at the end of the day, it all comes back to like, what is the brand? Why is it here? Who's the core client? And how is it going to continue to find more places to show up so that it expands over time, not shrinks and dies?
Well, I can't agree more. And I think also, again, this is about reaching the consumer. Traditional acquisition methods, whether it is paid media, whether it is paid social, TV, is changing, and is changing in a hurry. So how do you reach consumers? How do you increase your touch points? How do you stay relevant? This is, I think, another really smart move by CorePower Yoga.
Well, I think we've finished. The goal is to finish these in 30 minutes, and I think we're just about there. So have you got any final thoughts, Mo?
Well, I'm glad to be doing this in person, Debra. I mean,
Super
first
fun.
in-person guest, episode 2. I think, again, we released the first episode, just released it. By the time this comes out, hopefully we'll have some comments on it. But we want this to be interactive. We want to hear from our listeners. We want to interact with you on LinkedIn. And we'd love to hear from them on what they would like to hear next.
Yeah, and also I would just say, like, we've worked on projects together. These are the types of things, like, you just got to keep going. You got to keep moving. And each of these brands is finding ways to do that. So when people are feeling just like stuck with their brands, right, we're here for the industry to evolve it. These are great inspirational stories of ways that you can move. But it really, again, comes back to who you are and what you're doing. So it would be so interesting to be inside these guys when they're making those plans and just understand it all. So interested to hear more. Hopefully people will leave comments below and tell us what they think.
Yeah, thanks for listening to L.I.F.S. And if you do enjoy it or like what we say or get anything from it, then just give it a share, leave a few comments, and give us a few likes. So thank you very much for listening to the second episode of L.I.F.S.